Hey everybody, it's the OMAD Dad. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, a channel that is dedicated to living the OMAD lifestyle or eating just one meal a day. Let me ask you this. Have you ever used food as a reward? I want you to think about that. Now, a lot of people out there will pipe in right away and say, well, no, I would never do that. And if you don't, that's very good. Good for you. But for many of us, especially in this country, we use food as a reward and as a way to celebrate and as a prize. And I'm here to propose to you today that if you're going to have long-term success at any weight loss and weight management program or health program that you're doing, be it OMAD or whatever it is, that you're going to have to get past using food as a reward. Really, it all starts when we're little children and our parents bribe us to eat more of the healthy food that's on our plate by saying, okay, if you have a few more scoops of, if you have a few more bites of corn and you eat a little bit more chicken, you'll have a few cookies or you'll have a little scoop of ice cream. And so as little kids, we come to expect that. We expect that little prize, that treat, that trophy at the end of doing our services of eating. I know my daughter can be pretty creative at making her plate look like she's scarfed a lot of food down, my 3-year-old, making it look like she's scarfed a lot of food down when really she's just kind of moved the piles around her plate in a certain way. Of course, we're hip to her game. But it starts right when we were young kids. We were trained as a way from our parents, and we're all guilty of this. Those who have children, we start them on this expecting a reward every day, and that reward being food. It continues on into the teenage years. You're growing, you have your hormones changing, you're hungrier more because you're just growing at a rapid pace, and you come home and I remember when I was a teenager, some days I was just so ravenous I would just grab whatever I could find, and there would be cookies and junk food, and often my parents would come home and go, what happened to all of the food that we just bought? Guilty. But when we get into adult years, we don't really, for the most part, we tend to not stop that habit of using food as a reward. It's the central point in many of our celebrations, in many of our holidays, like Thanksgiving, for example, Christmas, or whatever particular holiday, 4th of July, even some of the non-holidays like Super Bowl Sunday, where it's like we just go crazy. I worked at a restaurant at the time that was specializing in pizza and wings. It had some of the best wings ever, and at Super Bowl Sunday, that's all we would do. We would close down and we would just do takeout orders. And I, as the chef, I think I ordered something like 3,000 or 4,000 pounds of chicken wings for that particular week, and we had sold out. It took a week of prepping and a week of ordering to get everything in, and one day, gone through a couple 1,000 pounds of chicken wings. This is just in a local smaller area. I mean, it's not even including all of the country. It's mind-boggling. And one thing I've noticed on being on OMAD is that I've had to make peace with a lot of that. I've had to make peace with food and what I eat, and and I've had to move past using food as a reward. As I've talked before, one of the benefits of OMAD is that you probably get to a point of more peace, mostly because you can't use food as a crutch. And so any sort of psychological issues you have, any sort of problems mentally that you're having in your life that are making you depressed or anxious or ever, you can't go to food as that crutch. So you end up having to deal with that problem head on. And that's the best thing to do. That is what it doesn't postpone as, using food as a crutch. That postpones the work that you need to do to work through a particular problem. And as an added side effect, you could also end up gaining weight by using food as a crutch. So it's kind of it's a double whammy, really. But if you want to have long-term success on OMAD, or any weight loss program, you really have to stop using food as a reward. One thing OMAD teaches you is that you go throughout your day, you remain busy. Yes, you have your drinks, you have your zero calorie drinks, you're staying hydrated. You sit down, you have your meal. It doesn't have to be a huge meal. It doesn't have to be something crazy formal. Many people who have their OMAD have a bunch of, from what I've seen, often sometimes it's like a bunch of different components that may not necessarily, homogenize really well into a composed meal. But it's a great way of clearing out the pantry, and you just sit down, you eat your food, and then you get up and you walk away. That's really what it has to be. You have to be successful at this, you have to make peace with that and just say, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to fuel up. I know approximately how big my meal should be, how many calories I'm going to have, and then I'm going to walk away. And some people, at least at first, particularly those that have issues with when it comes to related to food addictions and whatnot, when they have this approach, they don't know how to treat a holiday. They come into a holiday or a food situation where food is the celebration or whatever it is where food is the main hub of that day, and for many of us, that's the real challenge. The real challenge is, well, okay, we're all here using food as a reward. We're all using it as the centerpiece of this celebration, but I only eat once a day. And that's where people struggle, I think, a good portion of the time, is because it's hard when everybody's around you eating and there's all this foods that you liked before, always liked in the past, and you see everybody eating, and you're saying, no, I'm sorry, I've already eaten, it's not my time. Or if it is your eating window, you sit down and you have a simple small meal, you put it on your plate, you've eaten, you're full, and you're done, and everybody else is still going up for seconds and thirds and fourths and whatever else. So that's where a lot of people, I think, are going to be getting hung up on this, is if you're using food as a reward. You can't use food as a reward. You simply have to treat it as if I'm going to come in, I'm going to eat my meal. It could be as well balanced as it can. It could be all homemade. It could be a restaurant takeout meal. Whatever. You've made your peace with it. I've said before here that I don't really subscribe to this idea that there's the one perfect diet for all of mankind. And you guys can debate me all if you want. I know some of you are vegans. Some of you are strict carnivore. Some of you are strict keto. Or whatever it is. I don't think any of those diets work for every single person, point blank, across the board. So I've made peace with it. In my own way, I've made peace with it. I'll come down and I'll eat my meal, and that's how I was successfully able to take off weight. I'm not using food as a reward. Are there really nice cookies over there? Great. You know what? Save me a couple, and when it's my meal next time, even if that means my meal's tomorrow, maybe I'll have them tomorrow. It is hard sometimes. I'm going to tell you, this is pretty difficult. But we know what happens when we take the easy way out. Taking the easy way out means, sure, I'll give in and I'll have that slice of pie. And then mentally you say, well, you know what? I already cheated with that pie. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to have another meal. And then the next thing you know, you've added an extra 1,000 calories into your day, or maybe even more. So it's got to come back to changing your relationship with food. So you want to be successful, you want this to work, change your relationship with food, make peace with your food choices in your area, make peace with the fact that, every food component that you're going to find is going to have some positives and some negatives to it. Come up with a plan that works. Find what works best for you and stick to it. That's another thing I've said on this channel often. Experiment a little bit, find out what works, what doesn't work, and whatever works, stick to it. What doesn't work, discard it. Get rid of it, forget it, and just keep plugging away at this every single day. Stop using food as a crutch. Stop using food as a reward. Stop And that's just another thing is like when you take the food out is like the main centerpiece of every one of your special occasions. Now you have more time to talk to people and interact and connect with people as opposed to just shoveling food down your throat. So let's wrap this up. Long-term success. Stop having food as a reward. Make your peace with your food. Make some good choices. Find what works. Stick to it. Keep employing it. And you're going to have a lot of success with this. And you'll see it's not going to probably happen overnight because some of these challenges are really hard. And a lot of people, when they write me, they say, how do I handle this particular holiday or this situation? And I always say, well, it's ultimately a choice that has to come up to you. If you decide to cheat that day, decide to have a splurge, and you decide to go crazy, well, that's okay. It's one day out of your life. As long as it doesn't turn into 2 or 4 or 10 or a month, you have to make that decision. But you ultimately have to be the one that remains in control of yourself. So you have to make that decision, and you have to decide if it's worth it or if it's not. If it is worth it, then go fully in, enjoy that day. And I'm not saying have a crazy binge. I'm saying enjoy the day, enjoy your experience, and then tomorrow or that next day, pick yourself back up, get right back on it. Get right back on your plan, remain in control. Even when you have your splurges, I really urge you to remain in control. But when you're not using food as a reward, you're taking... in order to do that, you're making peace with every aspect of eating, and you're making peace with the fact that you're saying to yourself, I'm not going to let food be the dominant player in this situation. I'm going to take this special occasion and interact with the people I'm around with. I'm going to enjoy the moment. From my opinion, from my experience, that's one of the things that needs to change in your life if you want to have a really good long-term success on your OMAD plan. Don't use food as a reward. Don't use it as a crutch. Use it for what it's intended for, to fuel up. When you're done filling up, when your gas tank is full, you don't try and shove more in there after you've just driven 2 miles. It's ridiculous. It'd be dumb. Don't do the same thing to your body. I hope this was helpful for you. And again, if you guys have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave them down below. Send me an email. I'd love to hear your progress. I love getting those emails. I love seeing those comments. And tentatively speaking, October 7th, I believe it's a Monday night, I am going to be in Boston, and I'm on a business trip. So I'm planning on Monday night at some point, and I will let you guys know if this is possible, if I'm going to. I know I've said it in the past, but I'm going to plan on doing a live broadcast from Boston. It's not going to be at some it's not going to be some fancy big production or anything like that, but I will try to announce it ahead of time if it's going to happen. I will be at Boston. I'll go on, we'll log on, I'll get to meet some of you guys and talk to you, and you can ask me some questions and tell me some of your stories. I'll probably have a few things to go over because I've been saving some good articles relating to fasting that I've been finding. And we'll plan on having a live broadcast because I said I was going to do this when I hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm now up to almost 1,500. It's crazy how fast the channel is growing. But there is a real need and a real desire out there for people to find something that works. And I'm just glad to be a part of that. So that is it for me for today. I hope you guys are having a great day, a great week, a very happy OMAD, and be well.